All right, will you please stand to pledge the allegiance? Ms. Altieri?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda?
Yep.
Did you have we have a question about?
Yeah, one question, Mr. Graham, in action items, C, I guess I don't understand that. The chair and I were talking about
Mr.
it.
Marshall's request.
Yeah, is there something to vote on, or is it
No,
discussion?
it was just another opportunity. It was asked to be put into the action items at the last meeting.
Okay.
So we put it there.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the
It was
the actions
something,
were going to be.
I remember
Discussing.
it, but I didn't know we were voting on something tonight was my question.
I don't, that's up to you all.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll discuss it when we get there.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
so moved.
A second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, recognitions.
We don't have any recognitions, but I do have a message that I would like to share with the community, if that's okay with you all. And we'll post this tomorrow, but I did want to share it tonight. And maybe this isn't the right time to do it, but I think it's important to share with everybody. It's dated 10/11/2022. Dear school community families, as you are well aware, Radford City Schools is a special school system with a great reputation across the state of Virginia. Excellence in education, every student, every day, is our vision that we take very seriously, and it helps us to promote high academic and athletic achievements each and every school year. Just this past school year, during challenging times, we received many impressive accomplishments, like being the only school division in Virginia to be recognized as a school division of innovation by the Virginia Department of Education, and placing first academically and third athletically in the BHSL National Guard Cup competition, just to name a few. This school year, we received great news on September 23rd that once again, all of our schools in division were deemed fully accredited by the Virginia Department of Education, a recognition that we take great pride in as a school community. As a superintendent, I'm extremely proud of the wonderful awards and recognition that our schools and school system receive on an annual basis. But unfortunately, recognizing RCPS accomplishments is not my intent this evening. I'm highly worried and concerned about the student behaviors in all grades in all of our schools. And I'm reaching out to our school community family to ask for their support in helping us correct this issue. Thus far, since the start of school year, we have had 92.5 days of out-of-school student suspension and close to 50 days of in-school student suspension. We had one entire expulsion hearing last year, and we have two scheduled for this evening. Radford City Public School staff members are dealing daily with disrespect, students cursing at staff, disruption, bullying, cyberbullying, and fights, and defiance, students refusing to do what they are asked to do. Furthermore, and certainly more severe, our threats to students and staff are more common. Vaping and marijuana use is high, as it ever been, and staff being physically attacked by students has become almost a weekly event. Please know that we are doing our best to remedy these situations. We have established expectations of be safe, be respectful, and be peaceful to keep the learning environment healthy. Our staff members hold classroom meetings and advisory meetings to train our children and model what safe and respectful and peaceful environment entails. We have also hired a number of personnel in order to help resolve these issues, including supervisors for our Bobcat Bridge, our Bobcat Reset, our Bobcat Connections, and just recently we hired a behavior interventionist for our elementary school students. So we feel like that we're really coming along with that. We also are partnering with Olveus Bullying Prevention Program to implement this as soon as we can. That is a program that we've had in the past that we felt that was very successful, and we hope to implement that here within the next few weeks. But we still need your help. Suspension is not the solution, and expulsion is an option that we only consider as a last result to keep learning environments safe, respectful, and peaceful. However, behaviors are interrupting student instruction, and we simply can't allow this to happen. Rcps policy Igbc, Parent and Family Engagement, states the Rapid City Public School Board recognizes that education of each student is a responsibility shared by the school and the student's family. We are hopeful in the near future that all families of children in RCPS will have a productive discussion with their child or children on the importance of helping maintain a learning environment that is safe, respectful, and peaceful, so we can continue our tradition of strong academic athletic success and ensure that we do in fact provide excellent education every student every day. So if you all have any comments on that or not, but we will post this tomorrow as a superintendent's message.
It's wonderful.
Well, we are seeing, and I'll have to say this for the most part, the majority of our students are wonderfully behaved and are respectful and peaceful and safe. But we do have some very, very challenging behaviors that are causing us great concern. And to have over 140 suspensions in 8 to 9 weeks is almost double what we had for the whole year last year. So most of our administrative staff are here. Some of them are dealing with some medical stuff, and others have some appointments that they had to be to too. But they are doing an outstanding job of providing support for our staff and trying to do everything that they can to build a culture and environment that is supportive of, you know, best instructional practices and high achievement and success for all of our students.
I appreciate you doing that very, very much. I think it's important that our community understand that we try to be as transparent as we possibly can. It's hard to do sometimes when you have minors that you're dealing with, but we're very much aware. All of us sitting here are very much aware of what's going on. We're doing everything we can to rectify it. The whole world's a mess right now.
Well, and one of the things that I'm really proud of as superintendent is the bond that we have from our community and the support that we receive from them. So trying to reach out to them to help us resolve this issue as I think is the right way to start.
Yep.
We certainly don't want to have more suspensions. We don't want to have, although I love seeing you all, don't want to have more expulsion hearings for our students, because there's simply nothing good about that. There is no research that indicates how suspension is effective for students, other than perhaps a safety measure, and expulsion is there's nothing that I can find, nor Ellen, about how that can be good for a student or a school system as well. So you know, we look forward to having our school community really support us with this, and hopefully we'll start to see a change in behaviors. I will tell you that at the preschool level, at this time last year, we were seeing quite a bit of behaviors. That hasn't happened this year, so we're excited about that. So maybe we're moving a little bit out of the pandemic to you know, from those students that are now 3 and 4 years old that really didn't know much about the pandemic at that point, but we're still really struggling with those who went through it. So,
Well, I know that, you know, safety is our #1 priority. You know, we think about being a public education system and that educating should be our #1 priority, but safety is always the top. You know, students have to be safe, staff has to be safe, our buildings have to be safe, and then education can follow. And I feel as though you know, our students and our staff are not able to, you know, reach those education goals right now because there's so many, you know, fires to be put out. You know, the little Dutch boy and the wall, right? There's only so much we can do as an administrative staff, as our, you know, on the ground staff, as our SROs are working to help these students be successful and be safe. But we can't be teaching them, we can't be reaching these goals if there's unsafe learning environments. And we want to make sure that all of our students do feel safe being on our school, you know, in our schools, and that our staff does feel safe to be able to educate these students. That's really important, so I appreciate you sharing that with everybody, because I think it needs to be known that we know. We know.
We need family. We need our family support. I would want to add that it's not unique to us, and that really what when you start reading widely about how people are approaching this, they're recognizing that our youth do not know how, they don't have the skills to manage conflict in a safe and productive way. And they don't have the social skills, which in some ways, some of this is part of the whole 5 Cs, right? But that's another thing that I hope that we will approach, is actually putting some training programs in place besides for bullying prevention. Actually, I mean, we are an educational institution, so we do have a responsibility to teach kids how to manage conflict, to teach them how to approach conflict without having to resort to violence, and to teach them those social skills that for whatever reason, pandemic or otherwise, that they have not gained as young teens. And so that would be my recommendation. That's what we're seeing out in the, when you're looking at Ed Week and you're looking at Edutopia and all the sites that are trying to pull together across the nation what school divisions are doing. There's that prevention piece that, right now we're having to deal with the reactionary piece of dealing with it after it's occurred and having to put punitive kinds of things in place to let people know we mean business. We won't tolerate this. But we also have to look at that prevention piece, and I encourage us to do more in that area.
It's got to start at the younger ages. We've got to model it. It worries me that so many of ours, it's easy to say, we're not going to tolerate that, so we're going to suspend them, and then some families are so at risk, for lack of a better phrase right now. Children go home back into the situation where they've had no modeling of positive behaviors. So you suspend a child, you send him back 3, 4, 10 days, whatever, at home, and they walk the streets, they play video games, they're looking to get suspended, and I'm not trying to give solutions. I'm like Ms. Rife over there. We are very well aware, and our staff is working, and you guys out here so hard to look for ways to help our children that desperately need it.
I've already said too that we have a staff that is so good at building meaningful and positive relationships with our children, and we know that our children are suffering. One in every 9 of students that I read in an article on BSBA are struggling with pretty serious emotional and mental health issues. So, that plays a part in it too. But we don't want to lose staff either. I mean, we have a wonderful staff, and we don't want to lose them, and being cursed at or being threatened, those types of things we have to take very seriously. So, and we want the instructional environment to be as meaningful as possible, so that each child can achieve and succeed at the highest level. And, there's been days this year that all we've done is put out fires.
But it's not helpful when you hear the schools are a mess, and being critical, be a part of the solution, not calling names or calling out.
The schools are not a mess. The schools are doing very well.
Absolutely.
We have some problems that we know that we're dealing with, but the schools are not a mess.
Yep.
Very
Be proud
proud of our school system.
As
Any
I
other
am as well.
comments? All right, thank you for sharing that. The report of the student.
We have Audrey Busey here tonight, who is our SCA senior president, or president of the senior class. Thank you for being here.
For the introduction. Yes, my name is Audrey Busey, along with being senior class president. Thank you. Do you want to clip it on? So along with being senior class president, I also do varsity cheer, which, excuse my attire because I just came back from practice. And I am president of the Be the Change Club. I'm here to talk about what we've been doing since the school year has started. So because of the 2-week delay, we rapidly held elections, but it all went really well. We did Spirit Week pretty well. Not everyone, but a lot of students participated. And then we got really good pictures of that for the yearbook. We had a good pep rally. We had 2 pep rallies this year. The last one was even better because we had fun activities like the pie in the face for the teacher. We had all the SEA members come together to decorate and plan the homecoming dance, and then everyone helped clean up afterwards. And then we all sat down and sold tickets every single day for lunch the week prior. And now we're focusing on working towards the community. So we're going to try to build relationships with the other club members and team up to do volunteer work. And we're also going to try to make the community in the school better by planning more fun activities. We're trying to move past what years previous experiences have had on us, which was COVID, so we weren't able to do a lot. But this year we're planning on actually getting back out there, and that includes restarting some things. Some of this is pending approval, so it's not official. But a lot of the student body wants to do sock hops again after football games, and then maybe a few movie nights to get everyone's spirit up, and then celebrate some holidays. So yes, thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Mrs. Grant, for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
And don't go anywhere yet.
Yeah, don't go anywhere yet.
I'm gonna ask you
If
questions.
it may be too short a notice, but there is a cleanup in Wildwood Park on Friday and Saturday that you all might be interested in participating in. And I'll get those details to you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Sock hops. I'm just thrilled you know the word.
I actually did not. Someone had to explain it today. We had our president of the junior class who knew what it was from their family, and then
Oh,
they
that's
brought
great.
it in. And I was amazed after hearing it. I was like, "Oh, that's genius! Why haven't we been doing this?" But yes, it'd be a lot of fun, and
Yes,
maybe
it
order
would.
pizzas and everything afterwards.
I think we have to remember that your class, your senior class, is one of the classes that was most affected by COVID-19. I mean, in 2020, you know, you all were freshmen, and that spring we had to shut down schools, and then the next year you were in and out of school, and the next year we thought it'd be more normal, and it still wasn't. And then this year we start you off with a 2-week delay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we hope this year goes well for all of our seniors.
Thank you so much. A lot of the student body, because of that, wants to do a lot more. So I won't be biased with the class activities, but I think senior class will have a lot more.
That's great.
That
So,
sounds
yes.
good too.
That's great.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Avery.
Have a good day.
All right, moving on to our consent items. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from the
Yep.
last meeting? Bills and petty cash reports. Any questions on that? Student activities and the use of facilities. Right, were there any other consent items that we needed to discuss?
Did you send that field trip? I'm sorry.
You're good.
Send that field trip form in for the trip to New York.
Yes, I have. I sent it previously, and then I sent edited permission slip
I saw that.
with clause in it.
Can you send a request again? Because we can't find that. We have everything else, and then we'll put it towards the November meeting. But that was the other one.
Okay. All right, are there any questions?
Yeah.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the consent items, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
So moved. Information items. Do we have anybody signed up to,
I didn't see anybody.
okay. Is there anybody at this time that would like to sign up? No, and nothing sent in?
No electronic copies.
All
No,
righty.
ma'am.
So this is a time that folks can speak, you know, if folks want to come to the next meeting, if you have public comment that you would like to share with the board, you're welcome to do that each meeting. All right, moving on to the report of the superintendent.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Not a lot on the agenda this evening. So you all, I sent you an email about the capital outlay projects, and an email from Mr. Bernardo, and also an email. Now I don't know if I concluded. We're still waiting on quotes for the sound system in the auditorium and also for either repair or replacement of the auditorium seats. The news you saw for the stadium is not as good as we thought, or may not be as good as we thought it would be. So we're still waiting to hear from that, but I just added that to the agenda to see if you had any questions about anything that you read the other day.
No.
When do we expect to get more news?
I think tomorrow.
Okay.
So I'll be up there, and then I'll be up there Thursday and Friday again too. So I can send you an email. They opened up the seating and looked under and saw that it was deteriorating a lot quicker inside than it was outside too, and that the rebar was also rusting and cracking. So we're just worried that that might not hold the 2 inches of concrete that we wanted to add back to the seats. So I don't know what options we'll see if that comes to fruition, but
Okay.
Just
I'll
let us
you
know.
Yeah.
And included in that will be quotes for safety for folks with mobility issues. Are we
Yes,
adding that into that?
yes, there
To
are.
make sure that there's safety
Yes.
for those folks.
Yes.
And railings?
I don't know about railings, because when you put in railings like that, it could have an impact on
Everything else.
But we do have, just a reminder to the community, we do have, all they need to do is contact Ms. Grant or Mr. Keister or Mr. Sellers, Mr. Wade. We do have handicap areas that we can have cars come in and sit, or folks walk in. They're not marked, but we do have those areas, and we've had a lot of success with that the last few home games that we've had. I think
That's great.
during the Christiansburg game, I think we had 4 or 5 cars in that area. So it's a good option right now.
That's good. I feel like if we can promote that to make sure people know that that's an option. 'Cause
I don't know where to put it, but it would be great to have it somewhere, either on a web page as part of our news, or have the booster
I've sent it out
Facebook
twice.
page. Okay.
I've sent it out as a power announcement twice.
But I mean,
But we
there's a
can
lot of
post it if
people who
you-
come to football games who don't get power announcements, older people
So
who,
we can put it on our social media outlets.
okay,
Put
that'd be
that-
great.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
The last election that we had went over policy GBG, just to make sure everybody understood that what staff participation looked like in political activities. I'm just going to read this to you, just so we're all clear. It is policy GBG. It says staff participation in political activities, and of course we have our elections coming up in November. We do have a city council forum tomorrow night at Rafford Auditorium, and the time has changed from 6 to 7:30 to try to help with our. We also have a theater performance that folks are practicing for too. So we
I
had
wondered, yeah.
So it is 7:30. I was
7:30.
confused.
Mhm.
For the
Okay.
students.
Yeah,
Gather
so, but this says the Radford City School Board recognizes the right of its employees to engage in political activity. The board also recognizes that school time, school property should not be used for partisan political purposes. Thus, when engaging in political activities, an employee may not use the employee's position within the school division to further a political cause, engage in any activity supporting or opposing a candidate or political party while on duty, while on school property during school hours, or while representing the school division. Suggest in any manner that the school division or any component of it supports or opposes a candidate for election to any office, or use of any school division property to engage in activity supporting or opposing a candidate for public office or a political party. These restrictions are not intended to limit the rights of school division employees to support or oppose any political candidate or party on their own time. They are intended to minimize distractions from instruction, to assure that no public funds are used to support any candidate for public office, and to ensure that the public is not given the false impression that the school division supports or opposes any political candidate or party. School division employees who engage in political activities on their own time must make it clear that their views and actions represent their individual positions and do not represent the views of the school division. So that's policy GBG. Any questions there? Alrighty.
I need some clarification. I've gotten a number of emails, and frankly, they were complaints. What about, how does that policy, does it include, or is the wording appropriate for people that are volunteers within the school system and that are representing the school, but they're not a formal employee? that have political aspirations.
What?
I got complaints that there were political
I
candidates.
think I understand what you're saying. Like, can a candidate bring like a sign to a football game?
Exactly.
Okay.
I had
I
several
mean,
emails with
we don't endorse
complaints.
banners or like the political signs that you see across the community. We don't want those on our school campuses because of the disruption that it has. But
Right.
like, just to be open, there's 2 candidate cars out there with signs on the side of
Right.
them, and we just can't do anything about that. I mean, that's.
Well, what about in a parade? That's the complaints that I got within the community. They were upset that there were candidate signs on cars riding in a school-sanctioned homecoming parade.
I think that would be very hard for us to police
Okay.
as school employees.
Because they're not school employees.
Because they're not
Correct.
school employees, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
it-
And
Just makes
it
good
also says
sense.
partisan political purposes.
Yeah.
So depending on whether you're school board or city council, they're technically
Not.
partisan.
True,
So
true. But it isn't good, that's not a good idea to use the school for any kind of, what are you doing?
I saw it.
Was it an ad?
It was real.
I don't know.
It was real.
Seeing things.
I saw it.
He's tired.
I saw it. I saw it. It's okay. Right now, he's okay.
You're okay, you're not gonna,
And we have, in it's kind of in the school, schools almost every day, we do have folks coming through with signs on the cars and
Oh, that's-
that's
yeah,
fine.
that's
We can't,
different.
that we're not gonna.
well, I would certainly ask the community not to
And
use
everything's
political
been-
signs in a parade
we-
that's sanctioned by the schools.
We've been really good right now with, there's been no disruptions.
Good.
Because of the campaign and, just as a reminder more to our staff than anything that, we have to follow these policies, all of us, whether we're the superintendent or a school nutrition employee or
Right.
anybody, so.
And I don't think we said this, but city council is tomorrow night
Tomorrow
and
night.
school board is Monday
Monday
at
Yes,
7:30.
At 7:30 in the auditorium.
in the auditorium.
It's at 7:30 as well.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
You all see your academics review and monitoring. I'm sorry, I'm gonna turn this over to Ellen. Academic review and monitoring update, just to give you an idea.
I
of
didn't, there's
where
not an
we are.
update in there for you.
It's not in here,
there's
I'm
not a
sorry.
report, yeah. You know that McCarg, Bellheath, and Dalton were given the status of level 2 for achievement gap groups in English and in math, specifically with students with disabilities. There were other students also, but that's the area in which needs to really improve upon. And then the high school is an academic review for students with disabilities in math. And so all 4 schools have begun their process going through and starting the evaluation and starting the needs assessment. So each of them have established their AR teams. They're actively collecting artifacts right now. They've scheduled meeting dates to review the documents based on the tools that the DOE have given us. Some of them have even started to put interventions in place. We've ordered a number of different programs. For Algebra 1 at the high school, the teacher and the special ed teacher that co-teach have ordered Math 180 to be a supplemental program so they could do Tier 2 instruction in there. So they're really teaming and co-teaching, which is great. So we have that for those, and we had completed some work prior to school starting with Ms. Grant and our associate and assistant principals and our guidance counselors, or school counselors, to individually place students so that we made sure they were in classrooms that were low in numbers and that they could get the resources that they needed. So the 2 weeks delay really helped us with that and taking some time to really peel back the layers of the scheduler and then create a better class for those students. All the schools pretty much have created watch lists of students and achievement gaps, especially at level 3 or tier 3. They're also doing it at tier 2. They've taken some of the tools we've taken and adapted them so that admin could go in and observe classrooms and use the tools to cross-reference to make sure that we were meeting the requirement that the DOE put out that we had to show evidence of. So we've been doing that, and then we've been also looking at other programs. I know that Ms. Grant has let me know that they've reviewed Teach Town for adapted curriculum, establishing PD on co-planning, co-teaching, and differentiation. So I know T-Tech is working with Bell Heath, and I think that they're going to also work with the high school somewhat. They're doing some things there. So we're in the middle of it. I have a meeting next week with the Virginia Department of Education from the division level, just to talk to them about what we're doing. We're hoping that the teams can present their plans to you at the December board meeting. And then what I have in my mind right now is that we'll deliver those plans to you, but then give you the month to really kind of review them, or write down any questions you might have in regard to those plans, and then approve them in January. So if we can get it done quicker, we might have the approval in December. It just depends on
I was
our
going to
time.
say, there's a downside.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know,
big
I know,
downside.
there is. We're working hard.
Yes, I know.
This takes an enormous amount of staff, and we try every day, at least I try, and then I email out, what if you try it this way to accomplish this? What if we try it this way to get this done? It's a lot of information, it's a lot of artifacts to collect, and it's a lot of artifacts to evaluate based on the criteria that we have to use. But we feel pretty confident we're going to get there, and we will hopefully have that plan complete and for approval in December if we can. If we can't, I still need to leave the January open. The plan is not to be at the DOE until the end of January, so we would have enough time. But then the plans need to be monitored and reviewed periodically. It will be a 3-year plan. It won't be a 1-year, it has to be a 3-year. And so we'll continue to work on those and hopefully have that in place by December.
Would you tell me the name? I have never even heard of it.
I didn't either. Teach Town, I wrote it down.
For adapted curriculum?
It's
Daniel?
something that Daniel and I attended the other day from actually it's a board member in Prince William County, and it's just a year old, right? Isn't that right? And you've met with him twice since then now. Yes. And you want to just mention a little bit about it?
Sure. Yeah, it's
Would you be willing to? Thank you.
Teachtown is it's a program. It's developed through I really don't know who all developed it, but it's an adaptive curriculum program, and that it provides a lot of anything, and it aligns with our VAPs or ASOLs, and it's but they also address transition, behavior, social skills, and it's really it's designed for children with significant disabilities, and just creating a big toolbox for that program. Currently, Montgomery County is using it, and they love it. Washington County are the only 2 divisions kind of locally that we know that are using it.
Did you
But
say Montgomery?
Yeah, I've invited him down
At
to
the secondary level?
no, it's pre-K through 12. Yeah, so he's going to come to our Region 7 directors meeting next Friday to present it to all the other Region 7 directors. It seems like it's a pretty good program, but there's some training and a cost to it. So I'm kind of working out with all the details on that. But
And
so
so the
far,
transition, is it tied to the applied studies curriculum?
Yes, yeah. It's all, and what we're dealing with here in Radford, we don't have a huge population of students.
Right.
We only have 15 students, K through 12, that meet that criteria of a significant disability, but
That's amazing.
the number's growing, but we really are struggling with getting those folks licensed.
Yeah.
And then when we do is having a good program that we can use. And it's not, there are some components on the online, but they give you a whole big toolkit and a library of books, so that's geared towards the students' level. So I'm really impressed. And we met with, last week he presented to all of our adaptive special education teachers, and they really liked it. And then today I met with them about what it would cost.
Well, that was the second part.
The important focus
I'm
there.
excited to learn more about that.
Yeah,
So,
Teach Town. Look, you just
Town.
Google it, and they got a lot of demos on there, so it seems pretty interesting. Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yep.
Thank you.
You have the attendance and free and reduced lunch report. Our residential students that we have, 1626, is about as high as we've been in a few years. We don't have as many Radford virtual students as we had last year. But you can
Which
see
in some
the-
ways is good. It means people
it
want to be
is.
with us and be in school, right?
Yes. 2,057 stride out-of-district students. And then you can see that our residential free and reduced numbers there. We still qualify or CEP eligible at McCarg, Bell Heath, and John Dalton, so our students eat for free breakfast and lunch. We did get the grant from the Virginia Department of Health that you saw is $38,000, and Connie and I are trying to figure out if we want to use that to pay off student charges that for meals that they've charged, or do we want to lower our prices? Do we cut the prices in half and have students pay half the price at the high school? So that would, if we did that, that would last us through, I believe, February. So that's a good resource to have too. We feel like that we'll be eligible as a division, full division next year for CEP.
That'd be great. I mean,
What is that dependent on to be eligible?
40%.
And is that 40% of, like, we know qualifies, or that 40% the people who turn
You
in
have to-
documentation?
You have to either turn in documentation for free and reduced lunch, or you have to be eligible for SNAP, TANF, and Medicaid type of resources.
But that's information that the parents, that the guardians have to give the school system.
Right.
So it's really dependent on,
We
at the
need-
beginning of the school
we
year,
need-
when those papers go
correct.
home.
You're right.
Turn them back in.
Please, 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 please turn them back in, because even if your student chooses not to eat free and reduced breakfast and lunch, other students would be able to benefit from that based on the overall number who would qualify. So if your student's
Correct.
not interested, that's fine, but if you qualify, please next year turn in that paperwork, because that's been a hardship for many families
Yep.
at our high school level who have not been able to afford
Yeah.
school lunch, and kids need that food. It
Yep.
helps you make good choices when you're not hungry.
Yep.
So, thank you, I'm glad we got that.
And then the October policy update, you all seen that, and seen the red lines on it. And it is, the first one, the instructional materials, is to reflect the enactment of Code 22.1-16.8 by Senate Bill 656 and Senate Bill 656. Also required the Virginia Department of Education to give us some guidelines on that too. So this is what we received. We do have it in final format. And then the second one is the supplementary materials selection and adoption. Not a whole lot here. Tracy and I did a conference call with Ms. Ewing, and she didn't have a whole lot to say about this, but if you would like to, we could also move this down and have the final reading, so we can get it approved and get it loaded up to our policy documents, if you would like to do that. And I have do you all have the final in your packet?
With the one that has the,
You should have this one. I don't
that
know
one
if you
too.
have this one.
yes.
Okay, so you have both of them. This one and this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Instructional
you can see what
materials
the
one.
final,
oh yeah,
Is that what this one is?
got it.
Yes,
yes.
this is the staple.
I do. I do.
Yeah, I do.
Has everybody had enough of a chance to look at this in enough detail to consider moving it to an action item?
I would be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a motion to move the instructional materials final? Or do I need to call it the full thing?
You
The
probably need to
VSBA policy update.
amend the agenda first.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, it is.
is it?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so
Okay.
we can go, as long
Just
as you're
kidding.
comfortable with that,
On
we'll go
action
down.
items,
Oh, it's
Yes,
policy
there.
it's the last
updates.
thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Long.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions or comments I guess, is this the time to do that, or should we do that?
You can do it now or then.
Does
We can
anyone
wait
have any
too.
questions for Mr. Graham?
And then just the last thing that we have is we mentioned the Oveus Bullying Program, and Ms. Denny knows a lot more about that, and we have a survey that's getting
That-
ready to,
So we had the program, we began it in 2011-12. And actually, Suzanne Saunders and I were corresponding today about it. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was just the transition of staff, teachers, admin, the program kind of was not in use. And then of course we went into the pandemic, and so we know that it's research-based. At the time when we had it in 2011-12, NRVCS had a grant and supported us with all of the materials and all the training. Obviously we don't have that grant, but they've told us that they will train us free of charge. They'll provide us the consultation.
wonderful program.
And then it is a good program. And then ESSER 3 will pay for all the materials. We do have a lot of materials. Found out today that Dalton has a ton of materials, so we're not going to have to order new materials. But we will have to order the online survey. And so what the online survey does is I have a site that's going to go up to tell parents about this. I have an appointment to talk to Olveus about the survey itself and if it can be viewed or not by everyone. And I need to find out for that before I put this information on the site. But students in 3rd grade through 12th will take the survey, and it is bullying information. For 3rd graders, it's read aloud to them so that they're clear and the survey is easier to administer. For us, what it does is it gives us data and information from a child's point of view in our schools, and we think that's really, really important right now. So we need to pay for those surveys before we have access to them, and we'll do that. And then the next step will be to create our Olveus bully prevention program committees at each of the school. The principals are thinking of that right now, and then training. But we've NRVCS said they would be real flexible with us with training because we know that teachers are taxed right now, and we don't have many work days to put this in. And there's even virtual training right now too. They told me that's brand new, so we might look at some of that. And then we just hope to have the program up and going hopefully by February or March. And I know that doesn't sound real, optimistic to get it in right now, but there are some things to make sure that you're checking off to do this with integrity and to make sure that the information that we get from the surveys as we go on is accurate, and so we have to do it with fidelity. So if we can get it quicker, we will, but that's where we're at right now. The one thing that Olveus supported very well was morning meetings, where teachers really spend a lot of time in morning meetings to communicate with their students, to problem solve, to conflict resolution. They did some conflict resolution in them. And so we want to present that again. It's also, it could be, we're not saying it has to be, but it's a great curriculum for advisories if we were looking at that again from the high school in Dalton, to use that in that program. And we know we're having situations where there's bullying. And so it is a program, and it's a way for us to be proactive. And that's where we're at with it.
Good. Okay.
Very good. Any other questions for Ms. Denny? All right. Reports of board members. Does anyone have reports to share?
Good. We had our virtual school board meeting. I don't think you were able to attend.
Make it.
Yeah. But and I hate to say no news is good news, but those meetings are fast. They're crisp. It's well organized. I mean, the virtual school's going very well. I don't have anything to report other than it's
Good.
all positive. I mean, I'm sure we'll have our challenges, but it seems to be a very positive program going in the right direction still.
Great.
Okay. Anyone else? I'll report on the governor's school. So I've been placed as chair of the governor's school board.
Oh.
Lucky me. And so for those of you who don't know, I also have my husband is on staff there at the governor's school, so a little bit of a dual relationship, which I think most of us know a little bit about that at this small school. The building that the governor's school has been in for the past 16 years is no longer going to be available to the governor's school. And so we are working on figuring out next steps. We were initially told 2024 that we would need to have a new facility, and a letter was sent to us this past week from the superintendent of Pulaski County Schools saying that we need to be out by June of 2023, and therefore need to move a lot faster to figure out next steps.
Wow.
Some research has been done at the plausibility of moving the governor's school to being on community campus sites. Sort of the western counties going to Wythe County Community College, the eastern counties going to New River, and being a hybrid of virtual and in-person taught by community college staff, which would, of course, manage transportation time quite a bit, which is great. But there was concerns raised that without having staff that is not only a master's level educator, but to also have teaching certificates and gifted certificates and that sort of thing, could be problematic. And it would fundamentally change what the governor's school has been for 30 years. It's been around since 1990 and has functioned as a in-house program. You're taking classes that are built upon one another with a staff that is wraparound in support. So there's been some concern about that. So we're meeting again on Thursday to figure out sort of where the board wants to go as a whole. There's some other possibilities out there and some more possibilities to be explored. We've reached out to Radford University, who may be very interested in the governor's school sort of picking up as is and moving on campus. So that's another possibility to explore, and that's where we are right now.
Wow, a lot to do.
It's a lot to do in a little amount of time.
Yeah.
The Pulaski School Board said that they would possibly be willing to approve giving us more time to make plans if we were to present them with a board-approved solution that they accepted.
Not going to interrupt this year's instruction.
Not this year's instruction, but we do have, it's a junior and senior program, so we have juniors who are expecting to be able to do the second half of
Continue,
their
right.
program the next year. So that's,
Why do we have to be out of the building?
they have decided that they no longer want to allow the governor's school to be in that building,
Facility
facility.
issues. Bad
Roof.
roof.
Significant
Significant
facility
leaking
issues.
and
So
leaking.
it's tied to that. I know
Yeah.
we discussed that. Right.
And that they're, as a fiscal agent, they're responsible for all that, and only one other division wanted to support that, but that was about 5 years ago,
It was
wasn't it?
before I was on the board,
Yeah.
and I haven't ever seen a quote
I
as
think
to
that was
what it
before
would
I was
cost.
superintendent too.
Is it worth exploring?
They seem disinterested in exploring.
I don't think you're gonna get anywhere with Pulaski,
Okay.
but we may have, the president was pretty excited about it at RU.
Yeah, that sounds like a.
It might be a
a
win-win
good
for,
opportunity
yeah.
for
Oh,
sure, or possible.
yeah, so, you know, it's possible that we would go the community college route and governor's school would look very, very different from what it is today. And it's possible we could move to Radford University. There may be other solutions that are out there that we haven't explored yet, but we need to move quickly. Because time is, this is 9 months until
Not
we're
even.
out of that building.
Not even really.
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, and I guess thank you for taking on that responsibility, Jenny.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our sympathies, one or the other.
Thank you. Do we have any other items? No? All right, our action items.
So we want to move forward with the employee bonus. So I would recommend to you all that we provide that bonus to our employees in December before the winter break. Part-time employees, which would be less than 25 hours, would be $500. Full-time employees, 25 hours or more, would be $1,000. You must be hired to receive that bonus by this evening's personnel report to be eligible.
Okay, do we have any questions?
And just.
We did get state funding for the bonus
Oh,
for
that's
SOQ positions.
Yes.
And then we are able to supplement the rest of it with our operational funds.
okay.
Some
Super.
of the stride monies and things like that. It will be a full, Carrie's worked it out so that it would be a full either 500 or 1,000.
Yes.
That should help with teachers' morale too,
Hope so.
a little bit, hope.
And it's coming in time for Christmas.
Yes,
Okay.
makes it even nicer, doesn't it?
Okay, any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I have a motion that we approve the employee bonus as presented by Mr. Graham.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And Ms. Eagle's here to give the annual gifted report, which you all hear annually.
Again?
I can't believe it's time.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Like I said, I'm Miss Eagle. I'm the gifted coordinator for the district. And do you guys have a copy in front of you? Or
I do.
have had a chance to review a little bit?
Seen it.
I wrote all over mine. Sorry.
We do?
Anyways, I'll go through it with you guys and send that over. But first thing, we've had a couple
Is it in our-
teachers change over onto our committee this year. So with some, that is like teachers that have moved out or taken other positions, or their kind of 3-year time frame is up. So Sharon Winsky's our representative over at McCarg. Shannon Ferguson is at Bell Heath now, and then we actually have a student, Ella Cox, is our student rep for the next 2 years, so she's agreed to that. I do want to point out though, one of our parent reps, Tricia Stewart, she has a student who is over at the high school now. I believe he's in 9th grade. It's crazy. But she's actually taking on to be the parent representative for Region 7 over at the state level as well. So
Oh,
she's going to be
nice.
traveling to speak with all other parent reps throughout the state and really trying to advocate for our region. So she's already set up a virtual meeting with all the other consortium members and gifted coordinators in our region to kind of address some concerns maybe that they have that she could present. And there's some faculty changes going on at the state level, so I don't know how consistent the meetings will be, but we're hoping that she's able to really like bring a voice from our region. We didn't have representation up until this year, so for the past couple of years. And then this year, our local plan is actually in need of revision. It has to be submitted to the state in October of 2023, up for review. So that's all of Region 7. So that's one action item that I'll be working on this year, is kind of going through once the revisions are made public and approved. A lot of the regulations that are in kind of standstill right now in regards to gifted because of the administrative change from governor to governor. So they're taking time right now to really review the proposed regulations and seeing if there's anything to add or take away to that. But throughout this year, we'll be looking at the local plan and making any amendments that need to be made. So I'm gonna move on to my little, it's already hot in here and I already get hot standing. It's like a
It is hot.
double heat right now, so sorry if I like start melting. But I'm gonna just report on a couple things that we did last year that I felt were exciting. Last year, I provided weekly enrichment groups for students 2 through 6. It was more like a monthly group for my first grade students. But one thing that we really enjoyed was I actually brought, with the schedule that we had last year, we were able to bring 8th grade students down to McCarg students, so our 2nd graders, and they were able to provide like a mentorship for them. So they came down once a week on Thursdays, and they created a book together, they did some activities together, and really just like mentored them. They hung out, and I think that was the highlight of the 2nd graders. But I also think it was even more so the highlight for the 8th graders. They felt like they had a purpose, and when we're talking about like gifted, they were giving back to these kids. And so the makeup of that 2nd grade group, we're talking about like trying to create like a watch list. Only 2 of those students, there were 15 students total, only 2 of them were identified as gifted. And so we're looking at the teachers kind of developed a list of kids that they felt like had potential, but maybe came from more underserved populations or were kind of not the norm. And so just to break that down, we had 40% were girls, 60% were boys. Of the 15 students, 40% were from a disadvantaged background, and 53% of them were from a non-white ethnicity. And so we had a pretty diverse group, and our 8th grade students kind of matched that as well. We tried to pair them up, and the first kind of day that we met, they made those natural relationships sometimes. And our gamer in 8th grade kind of went with the gaming kids in 2nd grade, and they had a great time. So it was a really good opportunity for not only the 2nd graders but the 8th graders as well. Let's see. This year we had 5 applicants to our residential summer governor school. 4 of them were selected. 2 of them went to the RU's VPA program, 1 of them went to a humanities program, and then 1 student was selected to go to UVA Wise for performing arts. And I know that one of those students actually got into a program in North Carolina for, I guess VPA, I don't know, I think drama, I think is what
Drama.
it's doing down
Yeah.
there, yes.
Drama
So
stuff,
that was
yeah.
super exciting. I know that they all had great feedback from that program. We had 3 applicants apply to the Southwest Virginia Governor's School. All 3 students, you guys selected to go this year, and they're having a great time so far. When we check in, they came the last meeting, and then we were out in the outside talking for a little bit with their parents, and one of the parents said that Governor's School is like a nerd's dream. And they were all like, yeah, like, and I was like, oh, that's kind of offensive, but they were totally on board with it. So they, you know, all said, like, as much work as it is, they wouldn't trade it for anything because it gives them what they need and they really enjoy it. So we appreciate you guys sending them, and I know that we're kind of in a standstill right now. So we're hoping to figure out like what that program looks like. If it's going to change, it might affect how our application process looks like for this coming school year. But we're getting ready to create or have our VPA teachers make their nominations for the summer program. They're going to start nominating, and we'll gather all of that, and their adjudication will be, you know, scheduled for December or January. So we'll have an idea for that part. I'm going to move on here. Okay, so AP. Let's talk about AP for a minute. We had 56 students who took a total of 84 exams last year. Of that, we had 10 virtual Virginia exams, so those are AP classes on there. 21 biology exams are taken, 6 chemistry, 27 English language and composition exams, 8 United States government, and 12 United States history. Of those, we had a total of 59% pass rate. We had 15 AP scholars, which means they averaged a 3 or higher on a total of all of their exams. We had 1 scholars with honors who averaged a 3.75. And then we had 1 AP scholar with distinction who averaged a 4.43 average on their total exams.
Goodness.
And that was actually one of our former Governor's School students who graduated last year, and I think had like 8 exams total that they've taken and maintained that achievement throughout the board. So this year we're collecting kind of all the money and information right now, but we have a little bit more students currently signed up, but we'll see come November is our deadline. November 11th is our deadline to indicate AP exams at that point. So last year we had 31 gifted referrals. 16 of those referrals were given permission to be eligible for the program. 8 of those were identified as math-only students, 3 language arts, and 15 both. Let me see. And then in our underserved populations, we had a total of 8 referrals. This year already, I already have 10 referrals, and we haven't even hit parent-teacher conferences yet. So I anticipate when we're looking at the trend of referrals by year, that we're kind of moving away from that COVID time of people not making the referrals and teachers really kind of seeing some potential, and as well as parents really kind of trying to, you know, hit that referral process. We're also using MAPS this year as a watch list. So any student who scored an 80th percentile on the MAPS assessment has been put into a watch list, and that assessment's been given 1st through 8th grade. And so I've broken it down for each grade level for teachers to kind of keep an eye on certain students, and then in combination with their classroom performance, if a parent makes a referral, we can really use that data to say, okay, yes, let's go ahead and hit that referral process, or, you know, it's just another data collection point for us to use at the beginning of the year so that we can really keep an eye and pinpoint some of these kids.
Emily, if I can interrupt
Yes.
just to make sure for clarity, MAPS, in that math?
It's math
No?
and language.
Math and
Yes.
math,
Math and
it's both?
language.
Yes, it's I don't administer the exam itself, so I haven't actually seen it, but my understanding of it is, you know, you get the question correct and they kind of bump you up a level, and so it's going to continue to do that.
Okay.
So it's all based on a percentile as well. So when we're talking about the 80th percentile, it's, again, we're not looking at they got 80 correct, you know,
Right,
but
right.
which for a lot of the kids taking, they have no idea. But this year, and I just want to update you guys because I know this is our last year's update, but this year I'm really excited to continue working with students and providing enrichment for them. For my 3rd through 6th graders, I'm kind of doing a thematic plan for the year, and we're kind of covering the topic of like space, and we're working through different activities. And so like for the month of October, my 6th graders are actually, well, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, but my 7th and 8th graders been by choice because, you know, we have a smaller group doing that, but they're competing in the Tech Rise Student Challenge, and it's actually through NASA. They're designing an experiment that can go on a high altitude balloon. And so they're kind of I mean, that's completely on them. I'm there to facilitate and ask, like, okay, well, you know, you have 5 ideas, let's narrow it down to 1, and making sure that they're able to do that. But their submission for proposal is due on October 24th, and if they get picked, the coolest thing is they'll get $1,500 to build out the project and get to work with engineers. And then they'll have January to May to actually build it out, and then it will be sent up from either North Dakota or Arizona in the summertime. So those kids are really excited about it. My 5th graders are studying Mars currently, and they're coming up with a solution to grow food on Mars. And through some of our research that we've done, we've realized that Mars soil is actually compatible with growth. It's very similar. The issues we have is the oxygen levels. And so they're kind of coming up with a design right now to kind of encapsulate everything. And there's some ideas out there that we're able to pick from NASA. 4th graders studying aerodynamics, and then the 3rd graders, they're doing smaller units right now of kind of more teacher-led. And you know, chemistry, we're studying Newton's laws right now and how that relates to what NASA's doing in their field. So we have some exciting plans hopefully laid out, some trips to potentially Radford University and Virginia Tech. We have Miss Hubbard has some cousins who actually work for NASA, and they're local. They grew up in Radford, so we're hoping to set up some Zoom meetings with them to really engage them into those. And yeah, I think that might be all my chicken scratch over here, but do you guys have any questions for me?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
You said the AP exams were 84 and 59% pass rate across all of them. What is the state and national average?
So the state average currently has not been posted. It's normally a year behind, but even when I look for the 2021 data, it's broken down by individual ones versus a total exam. And I'll be honest, my brain is not working to do
sounds
that.
high.
Yes, so where's my, okay. So we have a 59% pass rate. If we look at the Virginia pass rate kind of over the years, it's kind of teetered right at like 65 to 70th percentile. So we're a little bit lower this past year than I think where we ideally would like to be. When we look at pre-pandemic, our local pass rate was 2016 75th, 70% the next year, 61, 74, and then we dropped down to 51. And that was the year that everything shut down. Students had the choice to take it. They took it at home.
Take the AP's exam when we moved it to November versus later in the spring to commit?
Well, so that's regulated by the AP College Board. So if you have to indicate that you're taking the exam by November, or else you incur a penalty. So it's a $40 charge extra onto a fee. And so we know, and that doesn't matter. So we can provide discounts for students who qualify. So any student who comes from a disadvantaged background can be given the adjusted rate. But if you sign up late, you're still given that $40 charge. So an exam right now is $94. So sometimes by November, these kids don't know. But then if they decide they want to take it, it's $135. So some of them are just taking it and then incurring we're keeping their down payment, because even if they say yes and cancel in February or March, we still have to keep $40 because the AP still charges them for that.
So did our numbers fluctuate?
My grandfather used to say.
Last year they could decide all the way up until
Great.
exam date, and we had a 62% pass rate. This year is going to be that we're going back to that. In 2020, they were able to decide up until exam day, and we were at 51%. But previously, it was the November cutoff date, and we had higher pass rates previously. So I don't know if that answers.
I would like to ask that question about if it costs $94,
Yes, 97 maybe, 94.
how, there are going to be students' families who
Right.
can't pay any of it.
Yes.
So how do we do that?
So, if you qualify for a disadvantage, you get a subsidy of, I think it's $31 off the exam, and those are per exam. It's still expensive.
$62?
I also applied for a grant last year and received $500 from the RU Foundation to help supplement any kids who applied for it. But we didn't have a lot of students apply for it, and I don't know. I don't know how to say this. I don't know if
maybe?
it's a prideful thing,
Yeah.
to be honest, because I'm even thinking, like, for my own family, if I have a kid who's taking 2 or 3 exams, that's a lot of money on top of anything else they're doing, and I'm not coming from a disadvantaged background, so we're hoping that this year maybe that more kids will take advantage of that and kind of apply for a scholarship, so to speak. But in the past, our virtual Virginia students, they've been able to take the exams for free, but that's been a grant that and you guys might be able to speak on that because that was before my time, but that was a grant from Virtual Virginia and the state, and they did away with that.
Okay.
So,
Does last year's money carry over to this year, or if you don't use it, will you lose it?
yeah. Well, because we have to, I mean, we issue refunds. So if a student's paid in full and decide not to take it, we keep the $40 per exam fee because that's what College Board charges us. So we have to keep that money. And then we issue a refund back to the student.
No, I'm talking about the grant. You said-
Oh, yes, I still have some money from the grant, yes.
Okay, so you
And
get
then,
to carry it over.
yeah, there is a little bit in our account, and I believe Ms. Wade's getting me the numbers so I can kind of see exactly how much we have so we know how much going forward. But there's a little bit of holding money as well because AP charges the $97, but they allow like a $5 keep fee, so to speak, for the school to keep if we need to hire like a substitute that day or something to administer an exam. So there is a little bit of money there, but because of all the cancellations and things, like, it goes pretty quick. So we're looking at around $12,000 a year that we pay AP at the beginning, and it kind of drops down to around $9,000 once you have students kind of enroll.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And that's only for, what I say, 84 exams, so.
But you have to score 3, well, really 4 now, or above.
But,
Thank you for all
Thank
your
you.
work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Let me know if you guys have any other questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Marshall's request, or do we have to approve?
Oh, do we have to
Approve her
approve the gifted
report.
report?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
do I have a motion to approve the annual gifted report?
I move we approve the annual gifted report as presented by Ms. Eagle.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? All in
One
favor?
comment is, and I don't want to get too far away of what our purposes are, but with our foundations, is this something that one or both need to look at? What do
I
you-
think you'd ask Emily that too, because right now what we're hearing too is that the colleges would rather almost have a dual enrollment than they would an AP. And it's also, even if, correct me if I'm wrong here, Emily, but from what I've learned about it, a 3 almost doesn't even count anymore for you. So our kids are paying these high fees and taking these tests, and it's not even rolling over for their credits.
Oh,
So,
They get to wait from the course.
You do.
Yeah.
That affects their
It
GPA.
affects their GPA. A 3 is, like our pass rate for our district is based off a 3 or higher, but a lot of schools are looking for a 4 or 5. Now, some schools will still accept a 3, so I'm not saying
Okay.
that that's excluded from a lot, but I think because, AP tests are taken all the time, it's more advantageous for the student to receive a 4 or 5. I will say, from feedback I've heard, I think that a lot of times AP, it preps students a little bit more than the dual enrollment courses, but dual enrollment, like you said, I think is a little bit easier to transfer over and what colleges are
Right.
looking at.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
AP doesn't necessarily transfer, it may allow them to waive certain courses,
Right.
right? So I can see why students would want
Yeah.
dual enrollment. I have a
Yes, so-
teacher preparation student right now, she is 19 years old.
Yeah, just starting.
Because she came in with 60 credits in
Yeah.
dual enrollment.
it is an expense. I have one student in particular that
Yeah, I
is
know one
taking
in
4
Richmond.
AP exams this year.
but a lot
Goodness.
of school divisions will pay for the dual enrollment fee.
And we would like to offer more dual enrollment.
Yeah.
It is a very difficult hire
Yeah.
Let's
because
see.
of what they have to have.
Right.
I have to do it.
I won't say a lot either, but I do think that there is an equity issue here that we have to look at for both dual enrollment and for taking AP exam, that maybe we can approach the foundations or do something, but that we should.
The dual enrollment we pay for. The
Oh, we
tuition
pay for
pays
those?
Yeah, we pay
Student
for
doesn't pay for
That's
dual
that's why
enrollment.
it's so.
Oh,
That's
no
why it's so
kidding,
much
wow,
Yeah,
okay.
you
It's
have
very
to-
attractive
You have
to
to
them,
place
too,
into
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's the front end, not the back
And
end.
you have to find teachers to teach it.
And they have to
Well,
find
that's the harder
teachers.
thing.
Yeah.
That's the harder thing. When we lost Ms. Scalo,
Gallo, yeah.
we lost our wonderful dual enrollment English teacher. NRCC has worked with us because Mr. Muncie
Yes.
is getting his master's or getting the 18 hours so that he qualifies under NRCC's rules to teach it. So
Oh, okay.
as long as he is actively pursuing it, they're allowing him to teach it. But
Okay.
if he stops pursuing it and doesn't have the credentials, we'll have to close that class. So, and then Mr. Kara is the only math one. We have had teachers evaluate it, to see if they could teach it, and
Really?
they stay pretty true to what they
They're
require.
pretty rigid with that.
I think you'll hear a lot about dual enrollment in this year's General Assembly, as far as teachers and what the
Yes.
requirements are gonna be.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
Anyway, that, yeah, no more
Okay,
discussion.
any further
Thank you.
discussion?
Appreciate it.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Marshall's request, do we have any further information about?
No, we've checked and made sure after the home football games that the area is clear, and it has been. I don't know if any of you all heard differently. You know, I'll share just like we did last time. Mr. Marshall has been a very strong advocate for Radford City Schools, and has, you know, a lot of the areas that you see that are, you know, trees have been cut down and shrubs removed, and, you know, dead. He's done all that, and he's helped. He's on the, you know, he's done the chain gang. He paints the field. He's done a lot of that. So, you know, I don't think he's asking for a whole lot. It's just a small section, and we really don't use it for anything. We've talked to the high school folks, to Mr. Wade. We you know, that's not something that we access very often. I know you never really want to give up land for a school division, but you know, I feel like he's kind of earned it. He's never charged us a dime.
Such a
He's
tiny,
not, he's not
tiny.
asking for the land. He's asking for the poles to be put up as barricades again in this letter.
Yeah.
I thought he was asking to move
He
the
originally
fence back
was.
to.
This letter we got last week, which is what I thought we were talking about, he's asking for the poles to be put back up.
Yeah,
Just
we
to
didn't
block
all
cars
get a
from
copy
parking.
of that.
No, I haven't seen that.
That was last month.
This was last.
Oh, from last month?
Yeah.
Okay,
He brought it.
This is what we said to put on the agenda.
that's right.
Yeah.
So it's just a different conversation than giving land. To me, this is the perfect scenario. We're not giving away land.
Me
We don't
too.
have to deal with that. We're putting up a barricade to protect,
Yeah. And he's happy, we're happy.
if this is what we're voting on, which is what we got last month.
I have not read that in completion because we didn't all have a copy of it last time.
You should have it in your
Yeah, we had
stuff.
it.
We
Here
were
you go.
handed it.
Did I
Everybody read
miss
through
it?
It'll take
Would you like me to read it out loud?
just, yeah.
Just the
Yeah,
sentence.
do.
Yes, please.
Do.
So this was dated September 12th of 2022. To Mr. Robert Graham and school board members, I found my dad's legal papers on the land beside our house at 401 Walker Street, Radford, Virginia. He gave up all his rights to the other part to get a 129-foot by 12-foot strip so he could legally build the garage at our house. I'm very concerned about the gas line that runs through the school's property that people are now parking on. It was never intended to be parked on, as there were telephone poles used as a blockade that have since rotted away. I respectfully ask that this telephone pole barricade be put up again at the edge of the present parking lot where it was originally to keep cars off this area. This is for our safety as well as the schools, to prevent any possible accident that could happen from that buried gas line. Yours truly, Gregory Marshall, 401 Walker Street.
I think the city could take care of that.
I don't even know, honestly, that telephone poles are I mean, you could almost put concrete
Barricade.
poles
I was
in
gonna say,
something.
doesn't have to be a
Something
Something that
Right.
looks nice. Telephone poles are an old,
Barricades.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
An attractive, safe.
Something.
point
Barricade.
being, I mean, we'll vote, but my thoughts are this is a pretty good resolution to what we've been
It is.
talking
I
about
think
for
so.
months.
It is. And he came up with it, so he obviously likes it.
Is
Yeah,
comfortable with
and we're
that.
still owning it, we're still taking care of it. I think that's a good answer right there.
Okay.
So how do we proceed?
Who would like to,
I think you gotta
Word
make
the
a
motion.
motion.
Make a motion first?
Do I have a motion on Mr. Marshall's request?
So I make a motion, or I won't make a motion yet, but what I would like to see is a quote on what it would cost. Let's get a quote, and then I think we'll have to vote on that, but
See what the city
let's
can do?
move forward with
You can make a
the
motion
idea
pending
of
on a
getting him
quote.
getting him a barricade.
You can
yeah.
do that.
Make a motion pending a quote.
Yeah.
Make a motion pending the quote to put a barricade up between the school and Mr. Marshall's property.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
second?
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I appreciate his willingness to work with us to find a, a solution that is in the middle.
We need to
Great.
contact him.
Appreciate that. All right, CEAC 22 members.
I think did you contact him first?
He contacted me.
Do you want to call him?
I can run up there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay.
So you see, you all have the CEC organizational members here for this year that need to be approved as far as the CEAC committee.
Can you tell me
What
what
they meant.
CEAC stands for?
Special Education Advisory Council, I think. Is that right?
Committee.
Okay.
Committee.
Yeah.
Committee.
Committee. Great, thank you. All right, I have the SEAC 22 members. Do I have a motion to approve the
Make a
list?
motion to approve the SEAC committees as presented. Committee members?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, do I have any questions, comments?
Just a comment.
Yes.
Well, not this fall, but I had been attending kind of as a school board member before I attended. Lynn attended, so just a note for the future school board that comes on in January. It's really nice to have.
Yeah.
You're not an official member of the SEAC, but it's a nice connection so that the board really knows how special ed works and what the families who are served, what their needs are and
You get
those
to meet
kinds
them.
of things.
I mean, it's good.
Yeah. That's all, thanks.
All right, very good. All right, all in favor say aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye.
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 Motion passes. All right, policy updates, October final reading.
Yes, you have the instructional materials, IIA, and then also IIAB, the supplementary.
So we have instructional materials IIA and IIAB. And we all saw where the revisions were.
Can those be done together, or,
They're VSBA, so
okay.
So yes,
yes.
okay.
I make a motion that we approve the instructional materials and supplementary materials policy, IIA and IIAB.
All right,
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, anything else?
That's all we have. Oh, the other is, sorry, is, yes, why don't you go ahead?
So, I spoke to you, I think it was last month, and we posted online under recent news about the science textbook adoption. We kept that out for 30 days so that people could view the Discovery Education in particular at grades 7 through 12. There were no responses on the survey, no comments. I did survey the science teachers, talked to them, and they were all in favor of purchasing it. They really like the platform. They like the access they have. Actually, when you buy the program, anybody can access it at the high school, which could be a cross-curricular
Nice.
activity,
That's
which
nice.
is nice.
Mhm.
So they're all in favor of us going ahead and adopting it. It is on the DOE's adoption webpage. So that would be 7 through 12 science, and the text is Discovery Education.
All right.
So do we have to have a motion to put that as an action item first, right?
Well, we could do it under other, because it is actually
Oh, it's
under
called
other.
an other,
Yeah.
okay.
Other.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the science curriculum
For grades
for 7 through 12,
Discovery Education.
Discovery Education.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Closed meeting.
Under Virginia Statute 2.2-3711, closed meetings authorized for certain limited purposes. I make a motion that we go into closed session for the purpose number 1. Well, let me finish reading this. I apologize. Public bodies may hold closed meetings only for the following purposes. So my motion is to go into closed session for purpose number 1. Discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, discipline, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of any public body, and evaluation of performance of departments or schools of public institutions of higher education where such evaluation will necessarily involve discussion of the performance of specific individuals.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye. I make a motion that we go into closed session for reason number 2, discussion or consideration of admission or disciplinary matters or any other matters that would involve the disclosure of information contained in a scholastic record concerning any student of any Virginia public institution of higher education or any state school system. However, any such student, legal counsel, and if the student is a minor, the student's parents or legal guardian shall be permitted to be present during the taking of testimony or presentation of evidence at a closed meeting, if such student, parents, or guardian so request in writing, and such request is submitted to the presiding officer of the appropriate board.
All right, I have a vote.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, we are in closed. Thank you all very much for coming. All right, welcome back. We need a motion to convene in regular session.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 I know, wrong
Oh,
hand.
You didn't see that, did you?
I did.
Oh, my gosh.
We need to certify our closed meeting.
I make a motion that we certify the closed meeting for reason number 1. Discussion, consideration, or interviews of candidates for employment, assignment, promotion,
Etc.
And
et
reassignment,
cetera,
et cetera.
and that.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed?
I
Motion
make,
passes.
I make a motion that we certify closed session under reason number 2, disciplinary matters.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Probably should
Motion.
say student disciplinary matters.
Student, okay.
Student disciplinary
There you go.
matters.
Student disciplinary matters.
I
Second?
apologize.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, personnel matters.
So I'd like to recommend Personnel Report 1.0 to the board for their approval.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we accept Personnel Report 1.0.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Student matters.
I'd like to recommend that student number 32258 be placed in an alternative education placement at Bobcat Bridge with the other
Recommendations of the board.
recommendations that we discussed in closed session.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we accept that, what?
Plan
Plan.
for that student? Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Student matter.
And then I recommend that student number 32002 be reinstated back into Radford High School with all the recommendations that we considered in the closed session.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we accept that plan for that student.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. We
And
have
then
tuition students.
Recommend that we approve the tuition students that we had listed on the tuition.
I make a
List.
motion that we approve the tuition students.
Have a second?
Second.
I was just looking at
You're asleep.
Sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We have no other, anything else?
No, ma'am.
We're good. Date for the next board meeting is November 8th, 2022 at 6 o'clock in the School Administration Building. We also have tomorrow evening at Radford High School in the auditorium is the City Council candidate forum. And so that's Wednesday. And then on Monday, we have also at 7:30 p.m. at the Radford City Auditorium,